Hey everybody, here we are again with another episode of Herding Cats, interviewing notable players who've gotten and embraced the Acinonyx bass that we're making these days. And today I have Bobby Brennan, and I know your one of your gigs was Cirque du Soleil, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
That's
something that took a hit obviously at the beginning of the year here. But why don't you tell us, just give us a quick rundown of kind of your career, like a highlights and
yeah,
and
sure. So I'm born and raised in New York, Long Island, outside New York City, um, and I did my college years out in California by you at Cal Arts, and
oh cool.
where I studied upright and electric bass. And as far as gigs, I'm a freelancer, so I've done a lot of different things from Broadway shows to Cirque du Soleil to singer-songwriters. I would say I've done a couple of national tours on Broadway, and then this is my second show at Cirque du Soleil. I worked with various different types of artists in New York on the singer-songwriter scene. And then also I was lucky enough in between tours, I was splitting my time up between Orlando and New York, going back and forth, working
Okay.
with different shows and artists. And while I was in Orlando, I was able to get status over at Disney World as well, and I was doing some stuff with Disney, different shows and private events for jazz combos and stuff like that. So,
Cool.
so a little bit of everything I got to do it, which has been fun. And I worked with Little Anthony and the Imperials, a famous group from the '60s. I've done a bunch of gigs with those guys, and always fun playing with them.
Cool.
And so it's definitely been a good career. I'm happy with what I've been doing, and
Right on.
always looking to do more and more.
Sure. So you went to school for upright. What do you? I mean, obviously you covered electric
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
so how much of what you do now is one discipline or the other?
Um, I kind of treat both the same. The upright, of course, is a lot more physical. You know, so what I love about my Cirque gig now, it's about 70% upright, 30% electric, and
Hmm.
which is great. So it keeps me up on my chops on both. There were times that I did the Cabaret National Tour, the Broadway show, and that's all 100% upright. So I
Mm,
really didn't get to play much electric bass during that tour, except on tour
right.
breaks and stuff like that. And
Sure.
um, so so I end up playing. I guess this past year during this pandemic, I kind of split it up with the practicing. I was
Sure.
like, you know what, this is a time like every other bass player or musicians. Let me take this time now and work on stuff I want to work on. And
Right.
I got really into the bow a lot because my show
Oh,
with
cool.
Cirque is a lot of arco playing, and I am not a classical bassist. I never have been, and never will be, but I enjoy learning how to play with the bow and study with some great people that are great at it. And
Cool.
I learned quite a bit in the last couple of years with the bow, and I still do it.
Right
I
on. Bowing is
always
such
have
a,
room to grow.
oh, what a great sound. I mean,
Yeah, it's a great
man,
thing,
yeah.
and it's nice because on Corteo that's the name of the show I work for with Cirque. I play a lot of cool lines with the violinist, and then even some stuff in the upper register, which is more like cello. But so
Yeah.
it's kind of fun. So I had to really work on my chops to get these songs down, and it's nice. Even though we're not playing the show now, I still practicing them every day, so I don't lose
Right.
my. You spend a long time working on intonation, and I don't want to lose that. You know.
Right, for sure. Yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah. So
Are you hearing anything about that coming back online next year?
we we just had a meeting last Tuesday with
Mm-hmm.
the whole company, as many people that were able to do it. It was a webinar kind of like this, what we're
Yeah.
doing. And so they explained to us, they because they have new owners now. That was
Mm.
part of the deal when Cirque went down and they had to file bankruptcy. The owners merged away, and then they got new owners. And
Mm-hmm.
so now that they have the new owners let the panel know that, hey, take your time with starting shows up. Let's do this correct. Let's do this safely. And so they were explaining to us their goal is to open up the Vegas shows around June. I think that's their goal.
Okay.
They're hoping
Nice.
now with the vaccine out that we'll start to be able to have maybe 50%, 60% capacity, you know, depending
Cool.
on how it goes. And
Right.
the two show, they're going to open up the show O first. That'll be the very first show they open.
Mm-hmm.
And then they hope for the touring shows, which my show is, they hope to start that in like the fourth quarter of 2021.
Okay.
And they'll start with, I think they said they'll start with 2 shows at a time. So every few months they'll keep adding it.
Okay.
And they don't know if we're going to need a vaccine. They don't know if it's going to be mandatory. But I have a feeling it might be in order to travel and
That would
to
make
go to
sense.
different countries. I think so too.
Yeah.
Even, you know, you see airlines looking to do that too.
Yeah, for sure.
So anyway, so it looks positive. It was definitely
Cool.
a good interview, and it was a positive vibe for all of us to hear that it's headed in the right direction.
There's
so
a light at the end of the tunnel somewhere.
Exactly. Yeah. We just don't know how far the tunnel is yet.
Right. Yeah.
Hopefully, we're seeing some light, and so it's good. So
awesome.
I'm staying positive, and I think we will go back. I feel pretty confident we will.
Cool.
Good.
Good to hear that. Yeah. Right on. All right. So let's get back to the cat base then, and and just tell us a little bit about your how you learned about it, and then what it was like once you finally got one in your hands.
Yeah,
and what the discovery process was like.
I remember getting the email about this base, about your story of what you wanted to do and what you were doing. That you were, I think it was the email where you finally said, "All right, guys, I've got to figure it out. We found somebody who's going to make them, et cetera, et cetera." And I remember this because it was a Sunday morning. I read the email, and I was at sound check before the band got there. I would always go early. I always go early on Sundays to work. And I remember the sound guy put my electric bass through the house because I ordered the pickups for my Lakeland from you.
Oh, cool.
And I knew just from the pickups, and I was using the Starlifter preamp as well.
Oh, right on.
Which I love. Both are fantastic.
Cool.
And I remember playing the bass and then getting the email, looking at the email and saying, "Oh my gosh, he's building a bass." I'm like, I'm definitely buying this. I got to get this. And that I didn't even read the whole thing. I saw pre-orders, $300, blah, blah, blah. I remember just taking my wallet out. I said, I got to get this. I love the look of it. Yeah. And I know it's going to sound great. And I was in Montreal. I remember I was in Montreal and I ordered the bass, or pre-ordered it. And then I started reading up on it more and more, and you would give us updates. And I just thought, for looks, I was like, this thing is cool.
Right.
And then I remember you said it was very light in weight. I'm like, that's cool too.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just knew prior to ever hearing it that it was going to sound incredible. I just based on your pickups. A lot of my bass, I have 3 basses with your pickups in them.
Oh, right on.
And they all sound incredible. And cool. I just knew it was going to be great.
Wow, that's great.
And that's why I bought it. And I was so excited because I remember going into the dressing room and we were getting ready for the show. And I showed everybody, "Hey guys, look, my next bass." And I was showing everybody.
Wow.
Like, wow, that thing is cool, you know? And so it's great now that I finally have it. And it is. It's an amazing instrument. I'm so happy with it. And it's been fantastic. But I remember that morning that when I read the email. And,
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So when did the bass actually show up for you?
I believe I think it got here, I want to say late July or early August.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I think I was part of the first batch, if I'm not mistaken.
Cool.
And, you know what was so great about it when I got it? Well, first of all, the packaging was really cool. you know,
Yeah.
which you had on. I remember you had some
Yeah.
kind of funny, like,
Danger, something inside.
yeah,
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was cool. So I
Sony
remember
does a great job
opening
with that stuff.
and looking at it and just going, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then I remember just lifting it up and going, this is nothing. This weighs nothing.
Yeah.
And the minute I got out of the box, it was pretty much 2 and 2, which was great.
Cool.
And then I just noodled around. I was like, this is beautiful. So I right away went to go plug it in. And then I forgot all about the push-in buttons.
Right.
So that was even more of a love for the bass I had again, that I forgot about it. And then I was like, oh, this is fantastic, you know?
Yeah. 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 Cool.
So, but I got it around, I remember during the summertime, and I was like showing all the guys, you know, the New York bass brunch gang we have, and showing them pictures and stuff, you know?
Cool.
But, so it was a nice gift to get after dealing with all the craziness going on in the world. It kind of distracted me, and it was nice to play quite a bit and just get me away from the world and just focus on the bass and see what how to use it, you know.
Right on.
So,
yeah. Well, so as you started getting to know it, where did you end up on your favorite settings on the switching, and how do you like to use the bass if you have a choice versus what people might be looking for?
I think I got to be honest. I think all the settings have their uses. You know what I mean? Like I think I recorded some videos where I changed it up depending on. I remember. I think for the two first videos I did with the bass, I had it on. I gotta look at it. The first button is what the flat
both
button.
pickups.
No,
oh
both
yeah,
pickups,
the tone knob. Yeah,
the both pickups, and then I think I had it just flat, which I really enjoyed. Then when I put flat wounds on it, I like the front pickup. You know, man, they're all good though. They're all good.
Right on.
But I remember a big difference. Because when I first got it, I had rounds on it, which I loved. I thought it was fantastic. And then about 4 weeks later, I was like, all right, I think I'm going to put flats on it just to see. And then I loved it also. But that's why I told you, I said, I got to get another one because I want one with rounds and one with flats.
Right. That covers a lot of ground tonally if you have both of them, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's just,
Cool. And then with the Nordy mute, that's a whole other thing, you know, which was great. I'm staring at the bass as I'm talking to you because I'm just like, there's just so many great things that just the neck feels great. Right. It just plays so good. It's
easy and fun, right? It just makes you smile every time you play it.
It's like a toy almost, but it's a great instrument, you know.
Right.
And it's so great. I love it.
That's
but
awesome.
As far as the pickup blends, I think I like them all, Carey. I really, depending on what I'm doing, but I think both pickups I like using for the recordings.
Sure.
Well, so far, because I've done like maybe 4 recordings for singer-songwriters that they asked me, hey, can you lay some tracks for these tunes? I'm like, no problem. And I used this bass, and they loved it. You know. Oh, the other thing I love about it too is that it's so powerful for a passive bass.
Right. It does have a big sound.
Because at first I thought, I'm like, I don't know if this is active or passive. I didn't remember. But I was like, no, this is passive. So it has a really, really big punchy sound for a passive bass. I was very surprised by that.
Yeah. Do you use the All-In series thing very often?
I did it once after I think I saw you on an interview, and I didn't know that was an option. And then I was like, oh, I got to try that. Yeah, and I did. And it was great. It was just another thing I could use. I'm like, oh, this sounds cool too.
Cool.
And what I used your bass a lot for too is I got a bunch of new effect pedals. So I was playing around with that. And that sounded great too, even in both pickups when I was just using front pickup or back pickup or a blend. And it sounded good in all of them. But I think for one of the videos, I just used the front pickup, and I really enjoyed the blend I got more than with both for recording it than with
Right.
both pickups at the same time.
Cool. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Right on.
But
Yeah.
I
Go
was
ahead.
gonna say that the singers that I recorded for, I would ask them, like, "Are you cool with the bass?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "This is a different bass than the last time, right?" I said, "Yeah." They said, "It sounds great." It was really
Awesome.
easy for them to mix, and I was like, oh, "Okay, cool. It's a new instrument that I got, and I'm just trying to get used to it." And like, no, it sounds great. You could use it for the other two. So I'm like,
Wow.
perfect. Yeah. So it was
That's
nice.
awesome. Very, very
And
cool.
I remember Bob Glob telling me it too. He said, he's like, "This is going to become your favorite bass and you're going to use it for everything." And I think he's right. Because I told
Yeah.
you too, I said, I'm going to have to get another one before I go back on tour, because I want to end the shows. There's one number that I could play this bass on that it would sound great on,
Oh, cool.
because I'm using it now with the Nordy Mute
Mhm.
on my Lakeland. But I have enough time to be able to
To
switch, to put
swap.
my upright down and take that. Yeah,
Oh,
because it would
cool. That'll
sound
be
really,
fun.
really cool with the Nordy Mute. So I'm looking forward to doing that. It'll be fun to bring on tour, and just for, you never know. Sometimes when I'm playing, the way our stage is set up, I'm out in the audience basically, and every now and then I get a bass player that comes up to me. It's like, "Man, what are you using?"
Well,
And
that's
it's
cool.
fun,
Yeah.
It's cool to talk to them about stuff, what I'm using, and this and that. And the sound guys, by the way, they love your preamp, the
Oh,
Star
cool.
Lifter.
Yeah. Right
Yeah.
on.
So, and I
Awesome.
know they're gonna love this bass because they see the videos that I post, and they're always like, "Man, you got to bring that on tour." I
That's
said, "Oh,
so
I
cool.
plan on it." Yeah.
Right
So,
on. Oh man, that's
yeah,
fun.
yeah.
One of the things I've been some of the several of the guys that I've been doing these interviews with are pretty
Uh,
pretty serious upright guys too, like yourself. So it's always interesting to get that added perspective in terms of how the cat works in the context of someone coming from an upright, and it actually can get a pretty big thumpy, obviously not exactly upright type sound, but it gets in that wheelhouse a little bit, I think,
yeah,
especially with the mute, if you use the mute.
yeah. I thought
Um,
so too.
so yeah, so that's cool to hear that kind of that validation again from you in that perspective.
I remember
That's
I brought the bass over to John Carey's place, and
right.
John, that was the first thing John said. He said, "Man, this thing really, really projects." I said, "Yeah, you don't expect it because it
Right.
weighs nothing,
It's so
and then
tiny.
all of a
Yeah.
sudden you plug it in, and it's like, wow, listen to that.
Yeah.
It's great, and you get so many different types of sounds from it, which I really love too.
Yeah.
You
Cool.
know, depending on what the song calls for or what you want to try to get out of it.
That's one of the funnest things about it that I've enjoyed having one here is that when I sit down and I start writing music and I don't have any idea what I'm going to do,
Yeah, yeah.
it's having all those different sounds in one bass, and you could really like, well, let me try that with this. Like, okay, I picked this drum machine and I got these keyboards and I got this guitar and all this stuff is going on, and well, what if I use the neck pickup? What if I use the bridge pickup? What if I use this? And then you can find like the right sound that just suddenly goes click. And you're like, oh, okay, now. And then you get into it, which is the whole
Yeah.
idea, is to be
That's
inspired and go,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly when I was using it with these pedals too, the different sound effects. That was a lot, maybe a good 20 to 30 minutes. I said, well, let me hear
Right.
how the neck pickup sounds doing it, or the bridge pickup, and to try different things because, and also for recording, I would record them also
Yeah.
with, something that when you did the interview with Steve Jenkins, I finally got this thing here, man.
Oh, right. The little iRig.
The
Yeah.
iRig Stream. This thing is amazing,
Yeah, it
you
is.
know?
Yep.
So I remember that interview and I said, hey, man, I ordered one. It took months to get it, by the
They
way.
got so overwhelmed by
I know,
orders
which was
yeah,
crazy.
especially when I started talking about it. I don't know, probably 5 or 6 people were like, "Oh, I ordered one, but it's gonna take forever." And I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah, I
man."
know.
So yeah, yeah.
But they're great.
But,
But that's the same thing, with the bass. I was trying different things and
yeah.
recording them to hear them back. Yeah, that's a little too thin. Oh, no, that's it, just
Right.
to try different things. But you're
Right.
right. There's so many options,
Yeah.
and that's cool. There's not many bases that have that, I
Y-
think.
As like a production tool, it's pretty ridiculous to have all those sounds at hand with just one instrument. Yeah,
I know.
It's
crazy.
I can remember sitting here, playing the ones that I'd made, almost 2 years ago, with an amp show time coming up again. When I finished the first one that I made in my shop, I've had one of these basses around for, almost 2 years. And I like to screw around in my little recording space with my Apollo and, headphones or whatever. And I can just remember sitting here for almost 2 years, a year and a half before they actually started to hit and thinking to myself, man, people don't know what's coming. Like, this thing has so many sounds in it. And I just remember feeling like this has a ton of potential, as I was sort of waiting for it to make its way into the world. And then to have it go out and be so validated on so many levels has been just my wildest dream come true. So it's just been great. Really something. Yeah.
And I knew that based just on the pickups in my Lakeland, This is before I switched out a couple other basses after I got those. But I remember even the sound guys, I'll never forget when I had put your pickups in that Lakeland bass. You're playing these big arenas, and it was like night and day. I remember everybody had to go, less bass, please, less bass, because everybody's ears, it was so much louder and clearer, than what I had in it. And what I had in it was fine too, but it was a difference. So that's why when I saw that you were making a bass, I didn't even hesitate. I was like, oh, I'm getting this. This is going to be fantastic. So cool. And it is. I love this bass so much.
Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, of course.
How fun. All right. Well, so I think we covered pretty much everything that I've been doing in these interviews. I don't know if
great.
Any other anecdotes or anything you want to
I'd like to know, is it possible to make a 5-string version of this?
Oh, man.
I'm just curious has anybody ever asked you or
that comes up. And I have a couple of takes on that. One is that this is just almost on principle. I don't want to make a 5-string just because,
it makes sense. So I get it.
But the other thing is I'm not sure a 5-string would translate. I'm not sure that B string would work.
That's what I thought too. I was like, that's why I wanted to ask you.
I mean, maybe it's possible. I mean, it'd be interesting if you took it and, tuned it up a little bit higher than a standard tuning, and then maybe made the 5-string that way. But of course, that would just baffle everybody that isn't harmonically used to swapping things up like that. So
no.
But I don't know. The biggest thing is the strings for 5-string basses that have a short scale. You got to get the strings right. Because otherwise the B just is a joke. So maybe I'll explore that idea, but up until now, I haven't really. I haven't taken it seriously. I'm like, I don't know. Actually, the next thing I want to do is make a guitar version of it.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, I was just talking to Travis Carlton, and I mean, he plays with all the killer guitar slingers out here in LA, and he was making the point that this thing is great for a guitar player to have, as like a bass that they can write parts with and just, flesh out demos and ideas and things, because it's so easy to translate from guitar to this thing because of the short scale.
Yeah.
And then, he was saying, and then I was telling him, oh man, if I could get in with some of these guitar guys and, have them appreciate it and then come out with a guitar, like, oh, wow. Then they'd actually give it the time of day, which is always the trick with guitar players is to get them to pay attention to new things. But the idea would be to make it have an old vibe, just like this one did, and then hopefully have some unique sounds that are new and interesting.
But that's what I thought too, and because of the old vibe to it, there were no 5-strings really during that. You know what I mean? So I understood that perspective of it too, where I was like, then it might kind of ruin what it's about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's I don't know. There's a point where it's like, what's principles or sales?
Yeah. I know.
It's a good thing when you can do both. But I'll keep an open mind about it. I don't want
Yeah,
to close any doors, but
it's cool though, man. I think it's going to be nice to see more and more bass players get in this bass.
yeah,
Because I think I can't wait to play live again so I can use it.
right.
Because I know anyone, just looking at it, you go, wow, what is he playing there?
Yeah, yeah,
And every bass player that's seen this, the same thing. They always say, man, Bobby, that bass is great, or I love the look of it, and the sound is incredible. I was telling you, I had that Steve Gadd app that Steve had given me. So I just always text him to Steve because he loves watching him. And
yeah.
he had mentioned too, he goes, man, that bass sounds really, really good.
Oh wow.
He really loved the sound of it. And this is somebody who he knows bass sounds,
Yeah,
from
for sure.
all the
Yeah.
greats that he's worked with,
Does he play bass at all?
No, I don't think
Okay.
so.
Yeah.
I think he plays, like, if anything, I don't know if he plays piano, but I know he plays like marimba a little bit and some mallet stuff, like
Cool.
a lot of percussionists do.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, the bass is fantastic, man. Oh, what did you do? You use rounds or flats?
On mine, I have rounds right now.
You do, okay.
And they've died to the point where I'm going to have a hard time changing them to flats. So I think I have to get a second one myself for flats. So, and I think
they sound great.
Yeah.
From the guys that have it, like Tim and Dan and stuff, like people, those are guys I know. Are they using flats or rounds?
Wow. I think almost all of them have switched to flats.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I'd have to go back and listen to the interviews because this is not something I've thought, I should make a note of what guys are using. But like Ed Friedland, he's all about flats. I'm pretty sure Dan Lutz has flats on his.
Yeah, I think Dan does too.
And I think a lot of it was I left the rounds on it for a while and they were great, but then when I switched to flats, oh man, it was that kind of thing. So
to me, I like them both. It depends on what kind of style of music you're doing. But when I first got the bass, the rounds sounded great. I was like, they sound amazing. But the flats do too.
Yeah,
I think with the Nordy mute, I enjoyed the sound with the flats with the Nordy mute than I did more with the rounds. But that makes sense. Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
But yeah, I was curious too, like if other guys are just what they were doing. But I figured it was mostly flats,
Yeah, it seems to be that's where they end up. But almost all of them. I mean, as we did on that one Zoom chat we had with everybody out there.
Yeah.
They're like, I got to get another one so I can have one with each. I mean,
know.
that's how valid they feel the round sound is, even though they're currently into the flats. I mean, and that's what Bob Glob said too. He bought a second one so he could have one with rounds on it in addition to the one with flats. So I guess I made a bass that everyone has to have two of them.
Two of them, exactly.
does not suck. So
it was so funny. My friend Chris sent a text between him and our friend Doug, us three, and he's like, well, I just sold this bass. Now all I have is I think it was a Lakeland he had. And he goes, you know what? I don't even want to buy another bass. I took a picture of the cat bass and I was like, I sent it to him with the little patch. Like, you are sleepy. You want to buy another bass. This bass is what you want. And I sent it to him and he's like, damn it, Bobby, because he's like, he does want to get this bass. So I'm convincing him, dude, treat yourself and get it. You'll never play another bass again. I said, especially for people, because you hear from guys. We were talking about this the other day on the bass brunch. Like Mike Viseglia was saying, he's done with playing heavy basses. He just can't do it anymore, you know?
Yeah.
And we were talking about different basses that are lighter. And, and I mentioned this one. I said, guys, this is it, And Tom was there too. And he said, yeah, guys, he goes, this thing has balls and it weighs nothing, and it's true.
Yeah,
I
it's
just
a nice
what's
combination.
great too about this bass is just the you put it in the case. It's just nothing to it.
Yeah.
I can't wait till the city opens again so I can take the train in and just
Easy
this
to
is,
travel and walk and get around.
I said between this and my Walter Woods head, I'm like, nothing weighs anything. I said that's how now, the older you get, I'm still somewhat young to some of those guys, but it's like I don't want to deal with heavy stuff either, man. I'm all about, as light as possible. But that's the other thing. Something so light, it's like you would never expect the sound you're getting out of that bass for something that weighs that light. It's incredible,
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I hope you're proud of your invention, man.
Oh, I am proud, and like I said, I could never have dreamed that something that we created would do this well and become so entrenched so quickly at such high levels of musicianship and caliber of player. It's very
great,
humbling.
Man.
It's really something.
Especially
to have all of this happening while I'm dealing with probably one of the worst nightmares of my life. It was incredibly validating to sit and get home from chemo and radiation and whatever, and just be like, just feeling horrible, but then having this thing happening while I was going through that was just, I mean, it was pretty important, really.
Of course,
it really helped me. Emotionally deal with what I was going through, and so it's been really something. I'm so grateful.
I'm proud to be an owner of the space, man, and I will do everything you need me to do to promote it and give out the great vibe. That's why I want to take it with me to Europe, because to show European people, because you just never know who's in the audience, man. And
you don't,
and it'll look cool, be dressed up as a clown playing this bass,
Oh, it will. It'll fit.
It would look so cool, man.
Totally.
That could be your new slogan, like the cat bass. No clowning around with this bass.
I love it.
We'll
you got to send me some pictures.
We'll figure out something cool when the time comes, man. Definitely.
Yeah.
So
cool. Well,
cool, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you doing this.
It's good to catch up, and have a Merry Christmas too.
You too.